All right, if you're here, chances are your Ford has hit you with a P1299 code. And I know it can be a real head-scratcher, maybe even a little scary, but don't you worry. In this explainer, we're going to untangle this thing for you, step by step.
Ah, yes. There's nothing quite like that sinking feeling when that little orange engine icon lights up your dashboard. So when you plug in the scanner and it spits out P1299, what on earth is your car trying to tell you? Let's figure it out.
First things first, this isn't some random computer glitch. No way. The P1299 code is a very, very specific message. Think of it as your car activating its own self-defense mode to prevent some really serious damage. So, the official fancy name for this is cylinder head over temperature protection, or you might hear it called CHOP for short. Basically, your car's brain, the computer, has gotten a signal that this cylinder head is getting way too hot. We're talking over 250, maybe even up to 280 degrees Fahrenheit. That's dangerously hot. So it immediately triggers a failsafe to save your engine.
The easiest way to think about this is like a fever thermometer for your engine. The cylinder head temperature sensor, the CHT, is screaming a critical alert to the computer, saying, hey, we have a major problem here.
So what does this actually feel like when you're behind the wheel? Well, obviously, the check engine light is on. But you might also feel a massive loss of power, what we call limp mode. The engine might even start stalling out or just shut down completely. It could run really rough because the computer is shutting off fuel to certain cylinders to try and cool itself down. Any of this sounding familiar?
Okay, so this brings us to the single most important moment in diagnosing this whole thing. The answer to one simple question is going to decide every single thing we do next. This is a true fork in the road. And here's the question. Is your engine genuinely, physically hot to the touch, or does the computer just think it is? This is absolutely crucial. We have to figure out if we're dealing with a real fever or just a faulty thermometer.
And this lays out our two possible journeys perfectly. If your engine feels fine, temperature-wise, we're going down path A. We're on the hunt for a false alarm, probably a bad sensor or some dodgy wiring. And you know what? This is the most common reason for this code, so don't panic just yet. But if that engine is truly sizzling, we're on path B, and that means we have a real cooling system problem. Let's tackle path A first.
All right, let's walk down path A. This is often the less scary and definitely less expensive of the two scenarios. This is where the code pops up, but your engine's temperature is actually totally normal.
So who's the usual suspect in a false alarm? Well, number one on the list, with a bullet, is the cylinder head temperature sensor itself. It might have just given up the ghost. But don't forget its partners in crime. The wiring harness or the connector could be frayed, damaged, or corroded, sending a bad signal. And in really, really rare cases, it could be a glitch in the main computer. So, how do you prove it's a false alarm? It's pretty straightforward. First, just use your eyes. Look at the temperature gauge on your dashboard. Is it sitting right in the middle where it should be? For a second opinion, grab a cheap infrared thermometer and point it at the engine. If it reads a normal temperature, you're on the right track. Next, just visually inspect the sensor's wiring for any obvious damage. If it all looks good, the final proof is testing the sensor itself with a multimeter to see if it's out of spec. Okay, let's pivot and talk about path B. This is the more serious situation. This is where that P1299 code is telling the truth. Your engine is genuinely overheating, and you need to act fast to prevent some catastrophic and expensive damage. When your engine is actually running hot, we're looking for a failure somewhere in the cooling system. Now, it could be something as simple as being low on coolant, which usually means you've got a leak somewhere. Or it could be a major part that's failed. Think of a stuck thermostat. That's the little valve that lets coolant flow. Or maybe the water pump, the heart of the cooling system, has failed. It could also be a cooling fan that's not spinning, or a radiator that's all clogged up. And, on the most serious end of the spectrum, it could be a blown head gasket.
So what's your game plan here? First, and I cannot stress this enough, wait for the engine to cool down completely. Then, check your coolant level. If it's low, you've got a leak. Start looking for puddles on the ground or stains on the hoses or radiator. Next, carefully feel the big radiator hoses. If the top one is hot and the bottom one is cold, that's a classic sign of a stuck thermostat. Look at the water pump. Is there any coolant dripping from the little hole on the bottom? That's a bad sign. And finally, an easy one, turn on the AC. The cooling fan should kick on right away. If it doesn't, you've likely found your problem.
So, let's say you've followed the path, you've found the culprit, you've made the repair. That's awesome. But hold on, you're not quite at the finish line yet. This last part is all about making absolutely sure the problem is gone for good.
Think of this as your 3-step victory lap. Step 1, obviously, is do the repair. Swap out that sensor, fix that leaky hose, whatever it was. Step 2, and you can't skip this, you have to use a scan tool to clear the P1299 code from the car's memory. And finally, step 3, the test drive. Get the car out on the road, let it warm up, and keep an eye on that temperature gauge. You want to see that light stay off and that needle stay right in the middle.
You know, in the end, that check engine light isn't just an annoyance. It's not there just to ruin your day. It's a message. It's your engine communicating with you in the only language it knows. A P1299 code is a serious alert, for sure. But by following a logical path, you can translate what it's saying, fix the real problem, and get back on the road with confidence. The only question left is, are you listening?